What's up, everyone? Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you coming to check me out and spend a little bit of your time with me. Right now, I'm out in nature. It's late afternoon right now, and let you take a look at this. We got some nice mountains in the background, and lots of farmland. If you could, there's some cows behind me eating grass, just minding their business, doing their thing, and it's a nice place. And right now I'm here in Kampot, Cambodia, hanging out here for a while, just enjoying the beauty and enjoying this nice country, nice place. And yeah, in this video I'm gonna follow up my last video. It's not really a follow-up, but it's another mitochondria video. The previous video was basically like a foundation for future mitochondrial videos, but this video is going to have a lot more purpose than the previous video did, because I'm going to talk about aging or anti-aging, and from the perspective of a mitochondria. I'm going to talk about why we age and how mitochondria contribute to our aging. And I'm going to also talk about a group of people that age really well collectively as a group, and I'll explain why they age so well, and it's related to genetics. And for the rest of the video, I'm going to talk about two things that benefit our mitochondria, that prevent them from leaking free radicals, which ultimately extends your life. And that's pretty much the focus of this video. I'm going to talk a lot about free radical leakage, because that's a major thing that ages us. Free radical leakage, and mitochondria leak free radicals. And okay, I'll just go right into the video and start talking about these things. Okay, so let's start with the free radical. What is a free radical? Well, in order to talk about a free radical, let's talk about the respiration. Respiration is how our cells make energy using mitochondria. Mitochondria take oxygen and electrons that are stripped from food, and they output energy, water, CO2, heat. So they make energy from consuming electrons. And mitochondria receive electrons through an organ or a system within themselves called the electron chain transport. And the electron chain transport has 4 complexes where the electrons enter into the mitochondria. There's complex 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the first complex is where the majority of the electrons go to first. So the first complex is a very busy place. Therefore, it is very easy for electrons to leak back out. Like some of them, they may go in, but they may leak back out. And this is not a good thing. You don't want your electrons leaking back out of the complex of the mitochondria, because when they leak out, they are highly reactive to the tissues of the cell, and even parts of the mitochondria. They can cause damage to biological tissues that surround it. So you don't want electrons spilling out, because they create free radicals. And electrons are highly attracted to oxygen. So when they spill out, they attract oxygen, and oxygen is toxic too in that type of environment. So that's how free radicals are made, when you have loose electrons spilling out of a mitochondria. Usually the electrons are transported in a way where they can't cause any damage. But when they leak back out, then there's nothing binded to them. There's no respiratory protein to protect them from interacting with oxygen and making free radicals. So those are free radicals in a nutshell. And free radicals, of course, are big time contributors to aging, because they destroy mitochondria, they damage mitochondria, maybe even kill them, and they damage the cell, maybe even kill it. And if you do this over and over too much over a span of time, this is aging. This is what speeds up aging. So free radicals are like a big suspect in aging, and that's why people I guess focus on them so much. And what are some ways that people try to combat excessive free radical accumulation? A lot of people try to eat antioxidant foods because antioxidants neutralize free radicals. And what's an antioxidant? You know, you get it from like usually like foods with like deep color usually have lots of antioxidants, like your fruits and vegetables and stuff. And some people like to megadose their antioxidants, or take lots of pills for antioxidants to, I guess, minimize free radicals, to, I guess, promote healthy aging or as a anti-aging strategy. But this may not be a good thing, because not only does it neutralize free radicals, especially like if you overdo it, it may not be a good thing, because mitochondria use free radical bursts. Like they actually make free radicals on purpose in bursts in order to send signals to the cell. Like I mentioned in my previous video, I talked about apoptosis, which is programmed cell death, and that's where the mitochondria releases free radicals into the cell, and it basically electrocutes the cell and it kills the cell, or gets the cell to commit suicide. And this happens because the cell is not functioning properly, and it can no longer be a part of the group, the community, the organism anymore. It's not benefiting it anymore, so it has to be put away, so to make room for newer, better, more reliable cells. So, and another reason why mitochondria make free radicals for signaling is they signal to other mitochondria to make new mitochondria. And why am I talking about all this? When you consume excessive antioxidants, you can blunt these signals, and you're actually preventing, you're actually working against yourself. You can actually kind of make yourself worse, make your energy worse, and shorten you can go against your longevity in this way if you don't understand this. Okay, so that's antioxidants. Now I'll talk about like a group of people that collectively have an advantage when it comes to mitochondria, because it's a genetic advantage. And these group of people are the Japanese. They're the longest living group of people in the world. And based on science, it's because their mitochondrial DNA has like one letter sequence in the DNA to get the mitochondria to not leak as much. So they found that out with the Japanese. They have mitochondrial DNA, not cellular DNA, but mitochondrial DNA, because the mitochondria are most important. Mitochondria provide the energy for the cell. If the DNA of the mitochondria is good and it's like high powered, it's functioning really well, then it can override bad programs that are in the DNA of the cell. So mitochondria come first. Now, with the Japanese, they have this letter, they have a letter change in their sequence that allows them to not leak as many free radicals, and this promotes longevity. And based on the data that I learned about, that I read, 2/3 of the centenarians, the people that live over 100, they have this letter change in their mitochondrial DNA, and 45% of the overall Japanese population has this letter change. And this equates to, like, if you have this letter change, then your chances of living to 100 double, and that's what the Japanese have. So why am I talking about this? Something that no one can really benefit from unless they're Japanese. Well, in the future I want to talk about mitochondrial DNA, and by knowing our mitochondrial DNA, like how we can work with that and how it can benefit us. I want to discuss that in the future, but decided to throw this in there just to kind of mention give some insight into what I'm going to go to later. But the next thing, yeah, so now let's talk about 2 ways to benefit our mitochondria and make them less leaky, less likely to leak electrons and create free radicals, which makes us age faster. And the 2 things we're going to talk about are really simple, and I'm going to explain them as well, so that you not only that you know, but you know why. Now, the first thing I'll talk about is exercise. No brainer, right? You know, get out, you know, take walks, and, you know, exercise on a regular basis. You know, take care of yourself. Everyone knows that's a good anti-aging strategy. But why does it anti-age us in relation to the mitochondria? It anti-ages us because exercise creates a demand for the mitochondria to make energy. And if there's a demand, the energy can just flow through the mitochondria from complex to complex to complex, and, you know, the energy can constantly be processed and broken down, and you know, it's a process. And if there's no demand, then the mitochondria becomes stagnant. They don't move. They're not being processed, so they have the opportunity to leak back out. But if you exercise regularly, then this prevents, it keeps that flow going, and your mitochondria are your electrons are less likely to leak out of the complexes of your mitochondria. So exercise is really important, and it also depends on what type of exercise. Like I've read and learned about centenarians, the people that live over 100 years old. Oh yeah, and I was talking about the Japanese, and I mentioned old age. Not only are they living past 100, but they're healthy in the second half of their life. I'm not just talking about just living just to live. I'm talking about living and having energy to live as you want to live. But where was I going with this? Yes, exercise. So exercise it makes your mitochondria less leaky. So this is a way to make your mitochondria less leaky, by exercising. And the type of exercise that the centenarians do tend to be like low intensity exercise done all day, like taking a long walk or doing farm work all through the day. This seems and tends to be the best form of exercise. Not anything intense like weightlifting or doing like some huge burst exercises, but just basic low intensity steady exercise. But like if you wanted to do like physical fitness, to, you know, like strong high intensity physical fitness, I think a good thing to do is high intensity interval training. That's where you basically you do like a 20 to 30 minute workout, and you do it in bursts. Like you may sprint for 30 seconds and then you rest for a couple of minutes. Sprint for 30 seconds, then you rest for a couple of minutes. Only like 20 minutes, and it's good for the mitochondria because it creates a little bit of free radicals to promote mitochondrial biogenesis, you know, new mitochondria creation, and it doesn't overdo things. It's not over the long haul. It's only like 20-30 minutes, and, you know, it's intense, and it's a burst of hormones, and, you know, it's good stuff. So exercise, especially low intensity long-term exercise that you do throughout a day. And yeah, the next thing that I'll talk about that promotes longevity and from the perspective of a mitochondria, and that's the cold. The cold, yes. The cold promotes longevity, and it helps the mitochondria to leak less as well, and I'll explain why. With the cold and the human body, the human body is an electric semiconducting system, and under the rules of electric semiconduction, when you lower the temperature of a semiconducting system, the energy becomes more organized. Everything becomes far more organized, and everything gets used. Everything becomes really thermodynamically efficient. And I've mentioned before, like, back in the day, like you have a game that runs on batteries, and your battery starts running out. You can take the batteries out and put them in the freezer and put them back in your game, and the game works longer or works again. That's because batteries are electric semiconductors, and our bodies are kind of the same way. And basically, the energy is more organized in the mitochondria, and they don't leak as much because they're more organized. Everything is getting used, and things are less likely to get wasted. So cold is beneficial in a longevity plan, and it's tied to mitochondria. And another reason why cold promotes longevity from the perspective of mitochondria is because with the mitochondria, the inputs are oxygen and electrons from the food or from our body fat, and the outputs are water, deuterium depleted water, CO2, carbon dioxide, and ATP, which is chemical energy. And the other output that no one really talks about, but it's important, is heat. It gives off heat. And what is this heat? The heat is infrared light. Infrared light is really important in the biological system because it helps us recover and regenerate. And recovery and regeneration that's slowing down aging. And a clue as to how important infrared light is, we can look towards the sun. The sun is 42% infrared light, and infrared is really important in recovering us and helping us recover. And also the heat that's made, it can be used as energy. This heat can be used as energy, and it's a more efficient, cleaner energy. And when we're exposed to cold, it changes the behavior of our mitochondria. Our mitochondria make less ATP and more heat. Like mitochondria are adaptive like that. They can change their behavior based on your surroundings. And cold is like one situation or one circumstance that you put a mitochondria in, it changes the behavior and it makes you make more heat. And heat is a much more efficient fuel than ATP. Much more efficient. So, in a nutshell, that's why cold is a good longevity tool and why I talk about it so much. Okay, so I'll finish the video here, and if you didn't get anything else from the video, basically I guess the take homes here are exercise and embrace the cold. Embrace the cold. The cold is your friend, and you know, it's another part of nature that once mastered, it gives you all kinds of gifts. So thank you so much for sticking around, watching my video, and I hope it was interesting for you. If you like it, please hit the like button. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, browse my channel. I want to hear from you. Like if you have some more input about how mitochondria work in relation to aging, or you just want to talk about your anti-aging strategy or what anti-aging means to you, feel free to drop it in the comment section below. And I'll also drop some references about where I get my info and what motivates me to drop this video. So thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. I'm gone.